Welcome back to another episode of Self Care with Blue and Rolly. I'm Rolly Canoli, and I'm joined today by my fabulous friend Blue. Hey, Blue.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And today we have a special guest. Nell Lawrence is with us, all the way from Chicago, co-owner of Urban Athlete Gyms. And a former skater with Appalachian Roller Derby in North Carolina. Nell Razor was her handle back in those days, and she is going to show us some off-skate exercises today. We've had a request for when we have downtime in between seasons, coming back from injury, anytime that we're not actually on the track. How can we keep those muscles we use on the track engaged? So Nell is going to demonstrate a few of those for us. Any questions you have for us today, please drop into the chat and we will get those answered. So let's say hello to Nell. Hey, Nell.
Hey, y'all. How are you?
We are good. We are good.
Well, I thought we'd jump right in. So like she was saying, we got a lot of requests for times that we are not on skates or don't have the time to skate or off season, things like that. So I kind of put together a few little things. Most of the stuff we're going to focus on today is some single leg work. Typically with derby, because we do tend to skate in one direction mostly, we tend to have one leg that is our dominant leg and one leg that is a little less strong. So I definitely recommend doing a lot of single leg work when you're doing workouts off skates. And the way I kind of formulated this today is we are going to start with just the basic moves. I'm going to add a little bit of balance and stability work into that, because obviously. And then I also have a plyo version of each exercise, because on skates we have to jump from foot to foot quite often. So that's kind of where my thought process was here. If you need any modifications or anything like that, you guys just yell them out to me, and I will do those. I'll get going right now. I will probably fall over several times because I have no balance anymore. So just bear with me.
That's okay. My legs are already shaking and I'm already sweating. I don't know about you, Blue, but man, this is going to be intense today.
I'm saying, hey,
I've already done it once. We'll see if we got it better. All right. I'm coming back here. Y'all let me know if you can see me. So for this workout, y'all, I made it to where if you're at home, you can do this. If you're at the gym, you can do some equipment. If you have no equipment or outside, totally cool too. I'm doing this from my house, so I'm not in the studio. So for the stability stuff, I am going to use a beach towel. It could be a pillow. It could be whatever you have sitting around. It's just going to create a little bit of a controlled, unstable surface. We are going to need like a bench. Okay, so like if I was in the gym, I'd be using a plyo box probably. But here I'm going to use my ottoman because that's what I got in my fancy house. So we're going to just jump right into it. Again, everything today is going to be single leg, and then we're going to run through a couple variations. If you have questions, just yell at me. I tend to talk really fast and like speed through things. So like I could probably be through this in 10 minutes if you don't slow me down. So you probably slow me down. Okay, so we're going to start real simply. With that reverse lunge, I'll go forward and then I'll turn sideways so you can see the form. Really just working on here, putting the weight in the heels and really getting those glutes engaged. I like to use this one a lot, even before workouts, before skating, just to fire the glutes up. So this can be done with weights, without weights, whatever you got, totally cool. It's just a quick step back. I'll adjust my screen a second so you can see my feet, and then you're gonna drive straight up. If you need a little help with that glute engagement, you can kick the leg. If you don't want to over-exaggerate that hip flexion, totally fine. You can keep the leg down. Let me adjust this just a little so you can see the ground a little better. There we go. Is that a little better? That's better. You don't need to see my face. So anyway,
you're still in it.
We're going to go through. So I would recommend just popping through as a quick warm-up, like 12 or 15 of these per leg, pushing through that heel, making sure you're getting that glute fired up. Pretty simple, right? So that's where I would go with that. If you want to add a little bit of stability work to that, you can grab your towel. This could be a balance pad or a Bosu ball, whatever you have. It's totally fine. And then we're just going to do the same move, which is totally cool. Coming through here, working a little bit of stability, and just creating a surface that challenges our stabilizer muscles a little bit more, those ankles, maybe gets into that shin a little bit, right? and just coming on it. All right? And then from there, you're going to take that same move, make it into a plyo by just doing a little scissor jack or split jack, which is going to be coming down and then jumping all the way through the movement. Still watching that form, still sitting back into those heels. All right, so with everything with that, I would go 12 to 15 of each, a couple sets, and really fire up those glutes. Sensible?
Yeah. So is it okay if you want to do those without shoes on, or should you always have some kind of, stable shoe on?
No, I think you're fine to do them without shoes. I always say, like, when doing the plyometric stuff, you probably want a surface that has a little bit of give to it. You don't want to be on like a really hard concrete or something, especially then not having shoes on. But for the stability work specifically, I think you're good without shoes. That's totally fine, especially if you're on your house, in your house, or you're, in your own environment.
Excellent. And Blue, that's really firing up that thut area. I love that term too. So, she's really getting that thut. I don't know if you know, but the thut is where the thigh and the butt meet. So right where that hamstring starts. And so I use that.
There are not so much muscle. I have a lot of it. Cool. So that is one that I would do. It's a really good way to just get everything warmed up and get the glutes engaged. Because a lot of times, right, derby turns into a lot of quad work, not so much glute work, and that just kind of gets everything fired up and stuff. All right. So the next one we got, this one is definitely very specific to derby. It's not specific, but it correlates really well. So the next one we're going to do is just like a little curtsy squat. Get some lateral movement in, because when we skate, of course, we have to move laterally, right, a lot. So this one is a similar movement, except we're coming down into a curtsy position, coming back, and all the way up. Same deal, you're still putting the weight in the heels. You might feel it kind of more laterally in the glute here, and then pushing all the way up, right? Same deal. And then to make that a little bit less stable, you're going to do the same thing. Put it down in the front, and then just working up through here. When you're doing this, you may just want to do one side and then move to the second side, just like so. And that kind of gives you a little bit more stability challenge. And then,
Now I have a question for you. So is there, because you're staying in that position for me, now is there a way, so say you're coming back from, an injury, an ACL or something like that, and you're just not as steady with that quad because, you lose a lot of quad muscle when you hurt your knee like that. Can you use like a broomstick or a chair or something like that to modify, to hold on to?
For sure. Yeah, I would say finding anything that's stable enough for you to hold on to would definitely help take a little bit of pressure out of that. And a lot of times, lateral movements can be a lot on the knees. So I would say if you did have a surgery recently or just went through PT and things like that, just take it really slow and see how it feels before you dive right into it, because it could be a little bit more strain going into that lateral motion. Another option is if you still wanted to hit some lateral, but the curtsies, they can put a little bit of torque in the knee. It's a little bit funky. You can always start too with coming down and just working into just like some little lateral split squats, lateral lunges, and just seeing how those feel first before you kind of move quickly into a different position.
And if you can't get your knee all the way down to the ground, is that going to be okay? You can kind of set yourself up for these small goals to eventually be able to, should your knee touch the ground or should it just hover over the ground?
Oh no, it should definitely hover over the ground. You don't want to really bang on the ground. And then a good way to start too is like if you did need a little bit of support, you can start with some of those laterals, like I'm going to sit down to my ottoman and then pop it back up, right? Give yourself a little assistance down here so that when you're in that low position, you're not, you have the stability behind you and you're able to just kind of work through that position here. So
you also have more control over the movement when you have something like that kind of stops you. It's definitely going to help you build. Even though you have assistance, it's going to help you build because it's a little bit more controlled. But not only is it controlled, it's kind of exaggerated because you actually have to reflex the muscles. Okay? So it's definitely going to help you build if you do that. You know how we say in roller derby, build the booty.
Booty, yes.
Build that booty. I have a question from the Twitch chat. Are you finished with this exercise, or you still have a little bit more to show us on this one?
On left, that would just add a little plyo movement to it. That it was like a skater to curtsy movement.
Okay, go ahead with that first.
Real quick, and then we can stop for a minute.
Perfect. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So then the little addition to that would be coming across, and this one's kind of cool. And it's kind of a fun one that you can just throw in kind of to any workout. Is a little skater curtsy, right? So you're going to hit that skater hop across. I'm going to do it kind of in slow motion. Come into that curtsy, and then try to power out of it, and then pop to the other side, and then with control, hit that curtsy again, power out, and come down. This could always just be a skater movement. If you wanted to just get a little bit of cardio in, stay a little more upright. But it's kind of fun to come all the way down into that curtsy and really try to set and power out of that.
Yeah, that looks like that's a lot of fun, and that really does mimic what we do on skates. You know, it's hard, and I know why the membership had asked about, you know, what you could do to mimic, you know, and engage those muscles we use specifically. And that exercise there, I mean, we call it a skater for a reason, right? So that's great. So the question is from Bliss Vinegar 51, how best to address super tight calf muscles? And I'm not sure, maybe they can get back on and kind of elaborate a little bit more. I'm not sure if they're asking in general or if they're asking if to do these exercises, their calf muscles are so tight that it's preventing them from going into that full range of motion. We could probably just cover both questions anyway. So,
well, I would say you guys probably have some good advice on that too. So hop in on that now.
I was just going to say, I like how the beginning of you starting the movement, you are not coming up on your toes. Just so you guys know, everybody knows that when you come up on your toes, you are going to hit the gastrics. You're going to flex them, period. So if you are already tight when you start the movement that Nell is trying to show you, it means you need to stretch your calves, okay? Because chances are, if you're already tight in your calves while doing that movement without coming up on your toes, then your hamstrings are tight, your glutes are tight, everything's there. And the thing about plyometrics, because eventually you're gradually moving into a plyo movement. The thing about plyometrics is if your muscles are already contracted, you cannot get any more power from them. And this is why Rolly and I started with the stretching. Make sure you guys are relaxed tissue, meaning that you're not in any flex position before you decide to actually build growth in a flex, okay? If that makes sense, okay? So take the fist, for instance. If I have a fist, I can't get any more out of it because it's already compact. It's already there, okay? Unless I'm going with that movement, all right? But if I'm completely like this, okay, I need relaxation before flex. So please make sure you guys are paying attention to how tight your body is in certain areas so you can actually let us know, and then maybe we can develop some more things with Nell to help you guys make sure you start with something. But this is very, she started very primary, and then plyo, of course, is going to be a little bit more advanced. But make sure you guys are stretching before you go any further.
Yes. And so Bliss Vinegar 51 said that their calf always feels tight and they're afraid they're going to strain it when exercising. So what Blue just said is appropriate. And then also we have on our archive of the YouTube channel for the WFTDA, we have a whole lower body foam rolling the 6 episodes. It goes through the whole body, but we definitely have one that's specific to the lower leg. And then we have moving up the body. And, you know, we always say this, everything's connected. So you might as well stretch everything. So you can go ahead and watch that. And then we today are focusing kind of on the glute and core area, but we can definitely have Nell back on to do this. We've also had A-Bomb from Sailor's Mouth Yoga on. We can get her to do some calf stretches and things like that. So definitely we can show you some more things, but we definitely on the archive, you can definitely go find lots of things. And make sure you are hydrating, right, Blue?
Yeah, definitely. Hydration is always key. If you don't have enough water in your system, you can't flush the things that aren't supposed to be in there. And just to note, we can archive whatever we want. But if you guys aren't doing the stretch, how are we going to help you? We're going to give you all of the tools. It's all up to you whether you're going to do it. Because once again, Blue always keeps it real. Make sure you're doing what we actually teach you.
Absolutely agree. I always say too, man, as we're getting older, I don't know about you guys, but you gotta do the maintenance. If you don't do the maintenance, you can't do the workout, let me tell you. I train something like once a week because I don't do the maintenance.
Yeah, it's very, very true. When I was doing all that foam rolling for the show, I mean, I felt great, and then what happens? I go and have surgery and then I can't do anything. And now I'm just trying to get back into it. And I'm thankful to have those videos that I can even refer back to myself. So they're a great resource. All right, Nell, take it back away.
Moving along. All right, where were we? Okay, so now we are going to go we're going to change it up just a little bit and kind of move into a little bit more of that hamstring region, get a little bit of stretch through there. So I thought I'd throw in just a little bit of hip hinging, kind of help with that low back. It can kind of help get that core engaged. So with all these guys, you want to make sure that core is staying tall and strong. That helps stabilize the hips and all these movements, right? We need that for our balance. So we're going to come through. This is very simple at first. We're going to put a little micro bend in that knee. We don't want to be super locked out. All right, we're going to just do a hip hinge. It's not really so much a deadlift, it's just a hip hinge. So we're going to come forward, try to sit back in that heel, push out nice and tall, hip hinge, and then come all the way up and tap that toe down. All right, so that's all there is to this move. Again, I'm sometimes fall over on this one. My hamstrings are pretty weak coming through, and then we're going to come in. Try not to let those hips rotate too much during that movement. I have a hard time with that too. So it's just something you have to check your form quite often when you're doing these. If you have a mirror, that's great, because I don't have a mirror right now, so I'm sure it's not super pretty. And then again, the stability is basically the same for all of these. You're just going to kind of find yourself something that you feel comfortable on, but you can automatically feel your ankles start to have to work. Your calves or your anterior tibs have to start to work. Your core has to work a little bit harder when you come up on here. But again, back to their point, if you already have a lot of tightness through those calves, through all that, you may want to start a little bit lower and work up to that once you've got your stretching done. And then for the plyo on this one, I've changed it a little bit. It's going to go a little bit more into the quad, and we're going to do what we call a sprinter, where we're going to still have a similar position on what the best way to do this is. We'll try it. We're going to come down like you're coming out of the sprinter's block. You're still going to feel a little stretch to that hamstring, and we're just going to come here and drive straight up and come all the way back down. Reset each time, because we don't want to get crazy with it, and then coming all the way up and resetting back down, okay? So that's the little plyo move. It's different from the actual exercise, but it correlates.
Can you do that one with you facing on the side? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yep. So basically you're here. Move this. So we're coming down, right? Can you see that okay?
Yep, you're great.
Stand high. We're going to still sit into that heel, and we're just going to kind of work to pop up and then control it back down. All right. If you can't do the jump first, that's fine. Just try to power out, right, and come back down. That's fine too. Power out of the move, come back down. And I think I'm going to have one more.
Awesome. So again, the same modifiers we were talking about for the other exercises. Bliss Vinegar 51 again said that they always tip over when they try the hip hinge or some one-legged deadlift kind of moves. They feel drunk when they try it. I mean, I don't know if I would advise being drunk when you do this, but maybe you'll have better balance. But here comes Nell with her fancy mid-century chair here.
I think one shot might help.
Okay, one shot, yeah, definitely relax you a little bit.
So just coming, I'm going to off to this side so it doesn't block, but just coming forward and just, yes, exactly, just having something to help you stabilize, core tight, sitting back in those heels a little bit, coming up and focusing on the move. having something to hold on to makes it much easier. And we can do some stuff where it's very supported if we ever need to do it like that.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are great tips.
All right. Should we just go into the last one and then we'll talk?
Yeah, perfect.
Right,
Yep. So
the last one is like a little variation of a pistol squat, right? So we're going to do a little bit, another work I just call a one-leg get up. So first of all, we don't want to be 80 and not be able to get out of a chair, so that's helpful. So what you're going to do for this, you're just going to get something that's stable that you can sit down to, all right? And the deal with this is the higher that it is, the easier it'll be, the lower it is, the harder it'll be. Chair is fine. I'm going to use my ottoman here. And we're going to come up. What you want to do here is make sure your knee is kind of right at about 90. You just don't want to be tucked way up, put a lot of pressure in that knee. The tendency on this exercise to cheat is to kind of start sliding that foot backward, right? Kind of cheating it up. So make sure your foot stays still and it doesn't kind of keep floating back towards you. If you need to use what I call kickstand here, that would be my other leg, is my kickstand. If you need it, great. If you don't need it, great too. So what we're going to try to do here is come up, standing all the way to the top, core tight. Again, if you need a little more help getting that glute to fire or want to kick up here, that's fine. If you feel like that's too much hip flexion, we do a lot of hip flexion, just keep it down, all right? And then we're going to work that eccentric, lowering ourselves with control, and then coming back up. All right? Now, if you need the kickstand, that's what this is for. You can always put it on the ground and work through it that way. And then set it back down on the ground to help you lower yourself back. Does that make sense?
no, that's great. Yes.
Yep. And then, again, stability part, get yourself your little thingamabobber, and you can do the same thing. What goes on this, make sure though it's not on the floor or this is going to slide out from under you. Might have learned that lesson the hard way. And we're going to come all the way up, really working here. Guys, really focus on too though, controlling that lower. You don't want to just flop on down, right? Work that eccentric. And then for the little plyo move, we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. So we're going to kind of start in just a seated position, just on your box. And essentially what we're going to do, it's going to be kind of hard for this thing, but we're going to kind of pop up out of our seated position and try to land single leg, slow lower in that pistol. All right, so we're not going to jump from the pistol position. We're going to try to come up, pop it, stick it, or engage, sit it back down. Does that make sense? Now, if you can't do that yet, that's fine. Just work these, you know? Sit it back down. That's totally fine. But working on in Derby, you know, guys, we have a lot of times where we have to switch from 2 feet to 1 feet. 1 feet, yes, 1 feet. So we put very quickly. So being able to quickly shift, boom, stick it, so we don't get knocked on our butt is great, right? And being able to do it then with our crappy leg too, which clearly this is my crappy leg. And all right, so that's kind of the little plyo move for that one. All these plyos are pretty low level in the sense that most of them should be doable once you progress to them. They're not like crazy, you know, hardcore plyometrics. So I think it's something that a lot of people can incorporate. Just be careful when you do it.
Would you mind turning the ottoman sideways so we can see those moves from turning the ottoman, yeah, sideways so that we can see from the other angle?
It's a square.
Oh, never mind then. It looks like a rectangle from here. There you go. Yeah, that's perfect.
So these are not going to be beautiful, but I'll give it to you. So basically you're here, right? I'm kind of on the edge. I'm not sitting way back. And then I'm going to try to kind of just explode up, kind of power out of those legs, up, kind of give myself a little bend in that knee to catch, core engage, your shoulders back as best we can, and then we're going to go back into that control.
Awesome. Thank you.
A beautiful demonstration ever, but
Just a side note, everybody. The reason why you don't want to sit all the way back is because you don't want to cheat and utilize your back. She's actually trying to strengthen your legs. So sitting at the edge, I'm not even we all know Rolly's the anatomy genius here, but I don't like, I'm going to go layman's. Sitting at the edge where your glutes and your hamstrings start is really good to make sure that you are activating the actual legs, not utilizing your back to kind of roll forward. Okay.
Good job. You used the right terms. So that was good.
I use the right terms. I just, I'm not going to give you guys a whole anatomy lesson unless you want to go ahead and pay us what we earned in.
No, nobody wants me nerding out right now anyway. It's totally fine. So a couple of things from the chat. PDX Speed Bump, he mentioned that Blue hadn't mentioned hydration, and then I kind of cued Blue to say that. And then he said that was not the type of hydration he was talking about. I guess we were referring to the shots earlier. That's pretty funny. And then also says that Nell's dog took a walk to not interrupt the show, but PDX Speed Bump is really happy that the cowboy cat pillow got to stay. So, and then there is a question. They're curious how much the foot heel distance from the seat matters.
Right. So you guys can chime in too, but what I was saying is, like, you don't want to tuck way up close to, you don't want it so tucked under you that you're putting a lot of strain into that knee when you come up. So you want to be kind of like at that 90 degrees position here, so that when you're powering up, you're not rocking too far. And the tendency is, it's a lot easier to stand up if your foot is tucked way under here, right? I could just kind of randomly stand up and sit back down. But so that's kind of the cheat. And you'll notice, like, if it's hard, by the time if you start getting tired, you'll look down and your foot is kind of creeped back towards underneath you, right? So make sure that you're checking that form every time you come down, like, all right, I'm gonna stand back up. Where's my foot? Oh, I need to move it back out. I'm about to do a cheat on that.
And that really does also mimic, when we're in that low squat for skating. You want your feet underneath the center. So, if your skate's too far back, that's not going to feel comfortable. And if it's too far ahead, you're most likely going to go into kind of a split, right? So that's also another good kind of thing for you to think about when you're sitting on a chair, the ottoman, the bench, whatever you're sitting on. It's in that very similar position to when you're getting into that low skating position.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Watching most of these workouts or movements, I'm actually going to say movements, because unless you get your heart rate up, it's not really, but Nell, movements are awesome. And it reminds me of the skater Luz Chaos from Arizona. I mean, she does, they do plyometric work, stability, any type of core work. And what you have to remember as a skater family is that the more control you have over your movement, the less likely you're going to take the dives that a lot of people take and get injured. The more control you have over your movement and the more you practice your movement, of which what Nell is actually trying to show you without skates on, the less likely you are to be injured or injured acutely. Okay, if that makes sense, because you still could get injured depending on whether you're not stretched, depending on whether you're not hydrated, depending on whether somebody lands on you. There's all kinds of things that will play a part in whether you are injured or not. But while you are on the track, if you have previously done some of the things that we have taught you to prevent or to build, okay, the less likely you are to have a more serious injury, if not an injury at all.
I agree. And also, when we're putting on, some of the reasons that I wanted to put some of this stability stuff in, which doesn't really change the exercise that much, but it does, change kind of the way your brain talks to your muscles. So if you get used to being on an unstable surface, when something happens that could really take you out and you're able to react because you've already been doing things that throw you off balance, then you're able to react and hopefully prevent an injury that could be more serious.
Right. I don't know if anybody practices the pad drills where your coach actually holds a pad, which is similar to football. But while you're skating, they'll hit you at any given moment. And it's to actually get you to like your equilibrium to balance back out. Okay. It honestly cannot be something that you just pick up. It is something that you learn. When your body refocuses or when your body rebalances, it's like a calibration, like the same thing you get with a tire alignment. Unless you fix that, you're going to have some issues. Okay. So do whatever work you have to do to get better, guys. That's all we're here for.
Yeah. So the big fancy term to nerd you guys out on that is proprioception. Yeah. It's your proprioceptors. And so that's what those little small stability movements, that's what's firing, almost like, I don't know, like a seismograph machine kind of thing where it's just like, like this. And that's what's also talking to your brain to get you to stay more stable. So yes, you have to train your proprioceptors. And that's what you were talking about. So perfect.
That's why I keep her around, guys. She's got them $75 words. You know what I'm saying?
My pockets are empty, though. How's that? How's that work? Does anybody have any other questions? Please drop them into the Twitch chat now. We'll be wrapping up the show here in just a minute. And yes, what we showed you today, what Nell showed you, start with the basics and then work yourself up. Not everybody can do a pistol squat right off the bat. So, that's where you start doing things. And next thing you know, you can do 1 and then maybe you can do 10, and, when you get back on your skates, when your season starts up again, when you're, cleared from injury, or if it's just, an off day from skating, you should really start to recognize the difference. These exercises will help immensely.
And that's a good point too, guys. If you do follow along with the video that I sent to Rolly, I went through each one. Basically the way it works is I did 12 per side of each exercise of each one we did there. But if you wanted to stay at the lower level and just do some extra sets of that lower level one, totally cool. Or just do part of it, so don't feel like you have to do the whole thing. I just wanted to have something that y'all could follow along with that was less broken up than, us kind of doing it and stopping and talking and then something else.
Awesome. Yes. So Nell actually compiled, she definitely has gone above and beyond any other guest, including myself, demonstrator on our show by actually doing a 30-minute-ish video of these exercises in a regular routine. On here, this is not, get your workout gear on and we're going to work out. This is really isolating just a few moves that are going to help you to do, better in life in general. But there will be a video in the comment section on the YouTube channel for the WFTDA. When that goes onto the YouTube channel in the next few days, we'll get that to Ben and we'll get that going. So that'll be really great as well to accompany this episode. So thank you, Nell, for that. Nell, again, owns Urban Athlete in Chicago. So if you're in the Chicago area, go check out their gyms. They're beautiful gyms. I've had the pleasure of working out in one of their gyms a few years ago. And boy, I was sore for a week after that. But yeah, so thanks again, Nell. We really appreciate you. Blue, it's always great to have you on the show. And so we will see everybody next time.
That's good. Thanks for having me.
Bye.